Emergency services in the United States have rescued thousands of people from flooded parts of Florida after Hurricane Milton crashed through the state yesterday, killing at least 16 people. Take a look at these pictures. This is a Coast Guard air crew rescuing a man clinging to a water cooler to float in the Gulf of Mexico, around 30 miles off the Florida coast. An incredible rescue there and a very lucky escape for that individual. More than 2.5 million homes and businesses remain without power, and authorities are warning residents not to return home because of the hazardous conditions.
A rescue at dawn for hundreds who fled for safety to neighbours upstairs. Now there is relief for a community inundated by floodwater and fear.
Did you lose your shoes?
Yes, all my shoes were inside of there.
In the block next door, a return for those in the eye of the storm.
We watched this fall. We opened our windows because we heard it start cracking.
Zane tells me there were no evacuation orders for these homes. Instead, they watched the waters surge helpless.
Stuff from my dead grandmother. All gone.
Zane and flatmate Dania couldn't afford Florida's rising storm insurance prices. Now they say they've lost everything, but at least they didn't pay with their lives.
We kind of started to panic. We started getting like flippers and stuff to figure out how we were gonna swim out of here.
As the floodwaters arrived, they were trapped inside.
I was like, worst comes to worst, we have to leave this house. We can't stay in the house, but at the same time, we can't see anything. There's a canal right behind us here. There's gators in that water. So there's a big fence holding the fence. So I was like, first thing I'm thinking, like, we're gonna be eaten by alligators.
They told me when I was in elementary and middle school that Florida would be underwater in 10 to 15 years, and I think that's what's happening. Just Mother Nature fighting back.
Fighting back in what way?
Well, just the earth, the way it is right now, and how much we pollute.
This community is battle-hardened when it comes to storms. But look at this. They've had 2 hurricanes here, back-to-back, within a fortnight. And so people here are asking the question how long they can keep going like this with the risk getting worse by the year.
Scientists believe hurricanes are being supercharged by warming oceans, with the latest 2 in Florida hurtling in from a hotter than usual Gulf of Mexico. And communities here continue to face the fallout. Now they return to survey the damage, and many will wonder how many times they can keep trying to come home. Tom Bateman, BBC News, Clearwater, Florida.
And let's just move a little way along the Florida Gulf Coast from Clearwater, where Tom was reporting from, to speak to the Mayor of Treasure Island. That's Tyler Payne. Thank you very much for joining us on BBC News. And I wonder, have people who left there in advance of Milton started to return? How bad are things looking?
Yeah, I just drove around the island just before this interview, and there are still not very many people here. We were certainly spared. We fared much better than we anticipated with Milton, which was just a double whammy after the significant impacts of Helene. I'm standing in front of my parents' house, my childhood home where I was raised, where my dad was raised, and during Helene they had water up to the door, the handle on the door here. So everything inside their home was destroyed, and it does seem like everyone really heeded the evacuation orders much more seriously this time and left even further. So I think that's why we're seeing not a lot of people back on the island, but yeah.
And what level of state and federal help are you hearing about, are you actually getting at the moment?
The assistance at all levels of government has been really great so far. The biggest project that we have is the debris cleanup, because we had, like I said, homes throughout our city. We have about 6,000 residents. We're a barrier island in the Tampa Bay area, and about 75% of our homes had that 2 to 3 feet of water in them after Hurricane Helene. So everybody's belongings, all their personal items and their furniture is out by the curb and was there during Milton, which was very nerve-wracking because that could have caused some significant damage. But it fortunately didn't. It went a little bit to the south of us. But that debris collection is going to be our biggest hurdle moving forward.
So a relatively lucky escape from Milton, from being in the eye of the storm, because you are really on the front line of the Gulf of Mexico there. There's a real question then going forward, isn't there, for the community of Treasure Island about how it can keep going through cycles like this and trying to recover. What are your thoughts on that?
Right. You know, a single level home like this, I think, is just not really going to be a thing of the future any longer. For a long time, we've had a lot of residents that have invested a lot of money into renovating these ground level structures. And as we're seeing more storms like this, there are federal guidelines for that FEMA puts in place when your home is damaged like this, or when you're doing a big renovation. If you're spending more than 50% of the value of your structure, you have to elevate your home and have no living space on the first floor. So I think a storm like this is going to cause a lot of those single level homes to be elevated or knocked down and elevated to a safer structure, which that's really the best way forward for island communities like ours, is to build stronger infrastructure and stronger structures that can withstand storms like this.
Really interesting to hear your thoughts on that. Thank you very much for your time. Good luck with the recovery efforts. That's Tyler Payne, the mayor of Treasure Island on the Florida Gulf Coast.